Thank you. And good morning. Welcome to the March DAC Webcast. I'm Jennifer Stafford, the Director in the Division of Assessment and Accountability Support. We welcome you today to hear updates and reminders about the upcoming spring assessments. We are springing forward into quickly into time for testing and looking toward the end of the year activities. We wanted to just confirm with you that OAA is here. We are remaining to support you. We look forward to supporting you throughout the spring semester as well as into the future. We just want to make sure that you feel comfortable and you've come to rely on the Office of Assessment and Accountability, and we are committed to continuing to bring you guidance information as things are changing at the federal level. I'm sure you've seen the announcements for and information about the U.S. Department of Education, but rest assured that the Office of Assessment and Accountability at the Kentucky Department of Education remains committed to supporting you, the district assessment coordinators. And we understand that there may be some anxiety out there, but we are here for you and are committed to supporting you through this time of transition. We are also monitoring some upcoming legislation during the session here in the General Assembly is in town here in Frankfort. And we are also monitoring that. We have some possible bills that could impact us, and we'll continue to monitor the happenings in the progression of bills that could impact the assessment and accountability. So we'll bring you information as we find it and things are passed along that impacts us. Today's agenda includes ACT reminders. It started on Tuesday, and we hope that your students have had a smooth testing experience so far. We've had a few for state testing issues, so we're happy about that. We also have some updates around the Kentucky Summative Assessment and case screen reminders. And then we have also the Kentucky Alternate Summative Assessment. So we've got a lot of things happening, including that SDRR opened this week. And again, there's some legislation that could impact your spring calendars, your school calendars. We're watching that closely and will provide information and further guidance if that bill so passes. Chris will bring us updates around access, and then I've got a few closing remarks around the Kentucky United We Learn initiative that's, again, in full steam ahead. So we've got a lot of things to bring to you today and look forward to doing so. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Kristen. And if you have questions, Devin Avery is monitoring our DAC info. So please email dacinfo@education.ky.gov along the way, and we'll get to those questions both throughout the presentation and at the end. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Kristen.
Thanks, Jennifer. Good morning, everyone. Like Jennifer said, happy week 1 of ACT testing. The ACT administration has been going really well so far, and that wouldn't be the case without all of you. So I appreciate the hard work that all of you put in to ensure that our students have the best testing experience. And so today I just wanted to give you a few ACT reminders. The qualified exception to the deadline for the test window 2 closes tomorrow, and this is for your students who will be testing in window 2 but might have recently enrolled in your district and have accommodations, or students who have a new diagnosis, or students who have newly identified accommodations or supports. The additional order window for window 2 also closes tomorrow, and the scheduled pickup date for window 1 materials is March 24th, and those need to be returned to ACT by March 28th. And then finally, you can begin creating online test sessions for window 2 starting on March the 19th, and that runs through April the 4th. And so I just want to say again, thank you all for all your hard work and helping to get the first ACT test window started so well. And I believe next I turn it over to my colleague, Melissa. But first, I wanted to ask Devin, do we have any ACT questions?
Not at this time, but we can definitely circle back around if any come in.
Thank you, Devin. I'll now turn it over to Melissa.
All right. So thanks, Kristen, and hello, everyone. I'm Melissa Chandler, and I'm the program consultant for the Kentucky Summative Assessment. I'm going to provide a few updates and give some reminders as we begin preparations for the KSA Spring Administration. So first is an update that KSA scripts for all grades have been posted and are available on the Kentucky portal under the Resources tab. And I have that webpage linked here on this slide. I'd also like to remind everyone that this Friday, March 14th, is the last day to verify that text-to-speech and online calculator accommodations have been marked appropriately on student plans in Infinite Campus. The IC data will be shared with Pearson on Monday, March 17th, so it's important that IEPs are marked correctly and are locked. Any IEPs that are not locked will not be included in that data pool on Monday. And speaking of Pearson, Pearson Access Next, or PAN, will be open for users to begin management tasks on March 24th. And similar to the past few years, the Office of Assessment and Accountability and Pearson will be collaborating to provide KSA office hours. The first session will take place the week that PAN opens, and I'm going to share a bit more information on office hours on our next slide. So as I mentioned, that first office hour session is going to occur the same week that PAN opens. So PAN will open on Monday, March 24th, and the office hour will be held on Wednesday, March 26th. That'll be from 10 to 11 a.m., and that's Eastern time. And we'll provide the Teams link to join that session in next week's Monday DAC email. But during the session, Pearson will be providing a tutorial covering PAN tasks that will need to be completed. The tutorial is going to walk users through how to create a report to view and add student accommodations, how to create classes, and how to create test sessions. During that first office hour, participants are going to have the opportunity to ask questions about PAN and TestNav, but definitely anything else related to the KSA administration. So those questions can be submitted prior to the office hour using the link that we've provided here on the slide. And we also provided that link in a Monday DAC email. I'll share it again in an upcoming Monday DAC email when I share the Teams link. Altogether, we're going to have 3 office hour sessions. The first one, March 26th, then following April 16th and May 14th. So we would definitely love to have you all join us for each of those. I think that's all I've got for KSA right now, but you'll definitely be hearing a lot more from me in the coming weeks as we get closer to our spring administration. If there are any questions, Devin, I'm happy to take those now or whenever they come through on the webcast.
Okay, we do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
The first one is, we have our IEPs locked in IC for the upcoming import to Pearson. Is there a certain time frame after Monday that if needed, we could unlock those where it wouldn't affect the Pearson data pool?
Sure. So that's a great question. And the important date is that this Friday, that everything has to be locked. The data will only be pulled just the one time. So there won't be any additional updates that are made, no additional data pulls. If you need to add accommodations to a student, that's part of what Pearson is going to show us in the tutorial on the first office hour. They're going to show us how we can go in and pull a report to see which students have accommodations and how to add accommodations for those kiddos that didn't make the data pull. So, but yeah, you could unlock if you're having meetings and those things, you can unlock them, but it definitely needs to be locked between the Friday and through the first part of that next week to make sure that Pearson gets all the correct information. Good question.
Okay, the second question has to do with the schedule exception request form.
Okay.
How do we handle this if we have a student who is both homebound and needs after hours testing?
Sure. So that is when you go in to do the schedule exception. I think on that particular question, it'll ask, do you also need after hours for this student? And if you do need after hours for the student, it will take you on to the next page. It's kind of an if this, then that. So you can submit both of those on the same request.
And there's one more question.
Okay.
Will the KSA office hours sessions be recorded and posted somewhere afterwards?
Right. So those are not formal trainings, and we don't record any trainings that are not formal. So just like the office hours for the other programs, they are not recorded.
Okay, that's all the questions at this time.
Okie doke. I think I am turning it over to, who am I turning it over to? I'm turning it over to Tiffany. So she's going to give some case screen reminders. Sorry, Tiffany.
No problem. Okie dokie. So I have a few case screen reminders for you guys today. Let's see. Our official ordering window is now open and will close on March 28th. Curriculum Associates has estimated that May 9th, they'll start shipping out orders. DACs may access the submission form using the 2025-26 case screen submission form. The link is here, and it's also located on the Google case screen calendar. Before submitting the form, make sure to enter the number of current kindergarten classrooms, new classrooms being added, if you have any, estimated number of kindergarten students, data sheets and Spanish guides needed for each school, as well as the shipping contact information on the third tab. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email address is linked here, and I'd be happy to help you. Devin, let's see. Do we have any questions in for case screen ordering?
There are no questions for case screen at this time.
Okay, well, thank you. And if you have any come in, just let me know. And until then, I'll go ahead and pass it on to Krista.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Krista Mullins, and I am the program consultant who oversees the Alternate Kentucky Summative Assessment, or the AKSA. I hope you all have been able to get out and enjoy these last couple of beautiful days that we've had. The sunshine's been very welcoming, and the warmer weather for sure. I just wanted to bring some reminders to you. Just wanted to remind you that our Window 2 assessment for AKSA will start April 14th and will last through May 23rd. And then the student registration database, or the SRD, will open for score entry on April 14th, and it closes on May 30th. So all scores for Window 2 need to be entered by the close of business on May 30th. The Window 2 materials will ship based on the date that the district has chosen. And if those materials are not received in district by the Friday of the week selected for shipping, so that would be on Friday, March 28th or Friday, April 4th, please email me, and my email is linked on this slide, and let me know that you've not received those materials so that we can check the tracking and check with UPS and just make sure we know where those testing materials are. Prior to administration of Window 2, it is important that all test administrators complete the administration code training, inclusion of special populations training, and both attainment task trainings. So sometimes you have new teachers in district that will be administering the assessment. And I just want to remind you that they need to be trained on all of those trainings. Continuing with some of those reminders, those test administrators, after completing the trainings, must also successfully complete the AT quiz and provide that quiz completion certificate to the district assessment coordinator before any testing materials are given to that test administrator. Another thing that we kind of noticed with Window 1 that kind of happened was we want to make sure that all students that are given the AKSA have completed the eligibility paperwork in their IEP, and they are eligible for AKSA. So make sure that those students are eligible for AKSA and that the ARC team has met and determined that eligibility based on the Kentucky eligibility criteria. Visual impairment, or VI materials, will have a list of students by their state student identification number, their SSID number, instead of their names. So in the past, you've received those materials with the student names. This time it will be their SSID numbers. And as a reminder, medical non-participations may be submitted in the student data roster and reviews the SDRR application beginning April 23rd. So I do receive a lot of questions about that, and that begins on April 23rd. Window 1 makeups during Window 2 can be requested using a Google form, and that will be sent in the Monday DAC email and a special alternate email in early April. So be watching for that form so that you are prepared to complete that to request a makeup of Window 1 for any students who need to complete Window 1 and Window 2. We will be offering AKSA office hours, and the first office hour will take place next week on Thursday, March 20th from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. So the topics for this first office hour are going to focus on preparing for the administration of Window 2. So we'll talk about what to do for those students who have transferred into the district. We'll talk about some of the specifics with those field test form numbers and just things to remember with that. We'll talk about Window 1 makeups, ensuring students are added to SRD, what to do if you have new test administrators, and then what to do once you've received those testing materials. We'll also offer a second office hour, and it's going to cover preparing for the end of the testing window, and that will be on May 15th. So I'm going to check with Devin right now and see if we have any questions for AKSA.
No questions have come in at this time.
All right, thanks so much, Devin. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Chris Williams, and she's going to bring you some updates about SDRR.
Thank you, Krista. Hi, everyone. I am Chris Williams, and so I am the consultant in our Office of Assessment Accountability, and I work closely with Access and also for English learners and also with SDRR. So those two topics we're going to talk today about those. So let's begin with our student data review and roster application updates. Now, you notice that SDRR opened yesterday. You've got a communication, a special DAC email. You also got a communication last week letting you know that it was going to be opening and some updates. And then we also went yesterday with a special DAC email and let you know that it had opened, and for you to be able to go in and put in your district windows for elementary, middle, and high school for KSA. Also, that is for the district assessment coordinator to enter that information. Now, for your school level users, they can see the information in SDRR, but it is only school level access. So they can't go in and make any changes in SDRR for your district test collection window. Only a district level user as a DAC. Jennifer also alluded to this about the legislation or emergency situations that could have occurred with your district calendars. And so we will, if anything happens with that, like she said, we will be providing additional information for you. It opened, like I said, yesterday on March the 12th, and it will close on March 28th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For you, and you want to make sure that you have gone in during this time and entered those particular windows in. And so let's take a look at what that's going to look like in SDRR. So when you log into SDRR, of course, as a DAC, you're going to log in and go to what would be open, which would be the district test window collection. You will click on that. You will drop down to this and be able to see where you're going to see like the dates it'll be open. It'll also tell you in the box like what this purpose of this is we have many purposes for our district test collection window. One thing is with this district test collection window is to put in those elementary, middle, and high school dates. Is one, it's going to be important for us to know, when those dates are. because we also come out and do site visits during those times. It's also important to keep up your calendars in Infinite Campus, making sure that that information for the earliest start date on the left-hand side, you'll see on the screen that will tell you when the earliest time that you can start your windows for that. And then also it's another important thing is when it comes to accountability, because that way we can pre-populate your accountability in the spring rosters when those open on April 23rd. And even though we pre-populate those for you for accountability, we always want you to make sure to look at your 100-day entity on your on all of your listings for SDRR. And then for this purpose, you're going to go in and you're going to put in your elementary, middle, and high school dates. And then you always want to go at the bottom and also save that information. Once that you can go in at any time. So if something changes, during this time, and you are like, well, I already put my dates in, but then, you could have a board meeting that happened, and your board met and have changed maybe, the dates for your last 14 instructional days. So in those calendars, make sure to, if anything happens like that, to always make sure it's reflected on your school calendars in Infinite Campus. And then you will still be able, if it happens during this window, still be able to go in and update that at any time. Now, what happens once this closes and you might have a meeting coming up and it does change your calendars? Well, you would want to make sure it's updated quickly as soon as possible in Infinite Campus on your calendars. And you also would want to send after the 28th, you would want to send that an email to kdassessment@education.ky.gov. And that goes to our data side who would be able to go in and, they would have to manually go in and put your, change that for you in SDRR. Now, another thing is that once this closes, there's also you can also export this district test window collection, and it will show all of the windows for every district. And so you'll be able to see that as well. And that's going to be important for you when to be able to see when students get ready for our spring testing for KSA, AKSA, and then et cetera. So those are going to be important to also, for you to, if there's any issues that, happen, then you can always let us know if you're having difficulty, entering your windows in. Because we did have, some questions this week about, someone, a DAC was having trouble getting into the district test window collection. And of course, if you're having trouble with that, always go to your WAPOC, which is your web administrative point of contact in your district. And those are always on our KDU website, the list of those, but you would go, that's just your district technology person in your district. They're the ones who give you permissions for SDRR for this application. And so if you're having problems and if you're, for example, if your technology person is not able to get it, help you, you can also contact the KIT service desk and they'll be more than glad to assist you as well. Now, also, Devin, are there any questions about the district test window collection before we move into access?
There is a question about SDRR.
Okay.
Since SDRR is opened, is this the time to add a medical exemption?
This is not the time to do the medical non-participations. Those will open in spring rosters, and so you'll be able to open those once April 23rd gets here. You'll be able to make sure you've got the forms filled out from our KD website. Make sure you have the correct form for our medical non-participations, and then have that filled out completely. And then you'll be able to save that to your computer and then be able to upload that into SDRR when it opens for spring rosters.
All right. Thank you, Chris. That was the only question.
Okay. Thank you, Devin. Well, I'm going to move into our next update for you is for Access, and we're going to talk about what is next for Access for you. Of course, you've already our window closed for Access and alternate access, and so now, and you've also returned all of your materials. So you want to make sure those were all returned to DRC, Data Recognition Corporation, by our date, because now we're going to move into the next part for access and alternate access, and that is our data validation. We always do data validation once the window closes for access and alternate access, because this is going to give you one last look with the vendor, one last opportunity with DRC to go into WeedAMS and be able to correct any student demographic information, also fix any duplicate records that you may have. Especially this comes in with the duplicate records is with our students, especially who have, they are in grades 1 through 3 and they take part of the test online. They take the listening, the reading, and the speaking online, but then the writing is done in a booklet. And sometimes if the information in WeedAMS doesn't match what you put on the booklet, then you will have what we call a duplicate record. And so you want to make sure you fix those, because when you're in data validation, you should see only one record for a student. You shouldn't see multiple records. Now you'll see the multiple assessments that the student takes, but you should only see one record for that particular student. And if this occurs, what you'll want to do is you'll want to go in, you'll log into WeedAMS, just like when you were going in and, putting students into, like test sessions and, printing out test tickets and getting them ready to do the assessment back in January and February. So what you're going to do now is you'll log into WeedAMS, and what you're going to do is you're going to go up to the top where it's going to say My Applications. And then you're going to see one that'll say underneath up at the top when you log in, you'll do the drop down and it'll give you a selection of student export, and it'll say, also transfer and validation. So you would click on that. And then once you clicked on that, you'll select the validation tab, and then you'll enter in the administration, which will be, the 2024-2025 access window, and then you'll put in your district and your school and your grades, and then you'll click on show students. And then that'll, once you see the students, you can also export those out to either a Excel. Now, if you're exporting it out to an Excel and looking at your students, it'll do like 500 students at a time. But now if you export it all to a CSV file, it has no limits. So it'll pull all your students. And when you export those out, you can look at it that way. And then, because a lot of times if you're in a large district, that's one of the easiest way to do it is export it out, see all of your students at one time. And then keep in mind that when you're checking all the information, like I said, the demographics, making sure there's no duplicates. If there is a duplicate, make sure that the student's first name, last name, birth date, SSID, grade level, and that their school and district are all the same on both records. You don't delete any records. And like I said, you always want to check to see all of your students' information in there. because there'll be more than just, checking their first name, last name, birth date, SSID, grade, school, and district, because it'll have a lot more demographics for you to check. One of the things that, you don't have to worry about checking on those files is the demographic information, is that school optional data field and then the district optional data field. So there's nothing in there for you to change or update for that. So that'll be 2 less things that you have to do in there. Also, that remember when you export those out and you're checking those and you say, oh, I see, maybe it could be with their name or their SSID, or it could be with their grade or whatever. It's very important that you check all of these demographic information. If something is not correct, always go into WIDA AMS to that individual student record, click on it, open it up, and then change what it needs, and always make sure you save your information. Saving that is going to be very important. If you don't save it, it doesn't save it in the system, and so you don't want to not have your changes represented during this time. And you're going to be doing this work from March 19th through April the 2nd is the time to do that. So please make sure that, you as a DAC can be working with this. Some of our DACs like to do all of it, but then, some of them like to also give it to their building assessment coordinators or their EL coordinators too, to also go in and help with this process as well. Now, once this closes, then you're going to get your score reports, and those score reports are going to be in WIDA AMS as well. You're going to see those online on April the 28th, and then you'll get the paper copies for both access and alternate access on May 7th through the 8th. So just keep in mind, all of this data will be online in WIDA AMS, and then you will also electronically to be able to see your scores when that opens up on April the 28th. And you will also be able to get the printed, several of the printed reports on May 7th through 8th. And then we will, when you get your score reports, we always get that data, and then we will be validating that also during data review, because that's also another important piece of for SDRR. You'll see your access demographics during spring rosters. And then you will also see them again one last time, your access demographics in SDR during data review. So we've still got some processes to go, and we'll be talking about each of these processes as they come through the DAC webcast. Now, we do have some resources too for you for this work for data validation. We had a WIDA and DRC did a webinar on March 4th. That is recorded and in the WIDA Secure portal for you as well. And so also, the DAC webcast that we're doing today is also important to go back and look at. And then also under you as a DAC received yesterday was also a communication from DRC that had a lot of information too about logging in to WIDA AMS and doing this work, and also how to fix duplicates and etc. All of that information will also be in that, but also it will also be in what they call the WIDA AMS supplemental user guide, and that is just for data validation, and it has screenshots and everything for you, as well as the knowledge articles in WIDA AMS to help you with this particular work. So that concludes this. Devin, are there any questions on data validation for access or about the reports?
No, there are no questions at this time.
Okay, thank you, Devin. Well, I want to thank you all for all you all did. Access, I know we had some bumps in the road and it went, but you all made it go a lot smoother, and I appreciate all the hard work that you put in for this particular assessment, and that also what you're putting in for SDRR now for district test window collection. I hope, with, I know Krista has said about the weather, that's beautiful now, but, just want to let you know that, this weekend, that we could be getting some more severe weather. So just hope you all stay safe and secure during this particular time in your families. And please let us know if there's anything we could do to help you through this time. So right now I'm going to end, and I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer, who's going to talk to you about cool updates.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to Kristen, Krista, Tiffany, and Melissa. Thank you all for the updates, and we're going to turn now to some future activities. What we've done so far is provide updates on this year's testing, but we've been also, while we are maintaining and implementing the current system, we've been talking about future systems. So future systems that need legislative changes to those. And so I wanted to bring you updated now that the town halls are complete, kind of where we are and what is coming toward the future for this United We Learn initiative. So let me get control of the PowerPoint presentation. And so we have clearly heard from our stakeholders across the Commonwealth that there's clearly a need to reimagine assessment and accountability. We've heard that. We've talked with many of you throughout the years and feel the need that to create systems that are more meaningful and useful to all of our learners, to our students, to our educators, to our teachers, to our parents, and to our communities. And so the Kentucky Department of Education listened to the stakeholders across Kentucky and responded to those calls for actions and developed a series of prototypes. And so we've been at this initiative since 2021 that started back with our former Commissioner Glass and was moving toward school improvement efforts at all levels of the educational system. So it's been happening, and we have developed and applied for a CGSA competitive grant on state assessments that has funded the Kentucky United We Learn Council. So the council has been working along the way to develop multiple resources. We started with standing committees that put together a moonshot, and you've probably heard that moonshot, to build a prosperous Kentucky where we'll launch an accountability system that is meaningful and useful to all of our learners. And I always stick in there that it's changes in assessments as well. So we've moved along this process with getting feedback from education stakeholders, from the Cool Council, from many of you through a series of prototypes. And so in 2024, we launched these prototypes, and these prototypes were a way to get people involved in the conversation. There was a series of meetings, and we would talk and we would gather feedback, and then we would make updates to those prototypes. We sent out a survey, had focus groups, continued with the Kentucky United We Learn Council. So it was an iterative process that had 4 prototypes and have led to the development of frameworks. So we've had 2 frameworks so far, and throughout January and February of this year, although it was impacted by weather events, that Chris just mentioned, we had a series of town halls, meetings that were held to gather more feedback on our current framework, the current framework that what is 2.0, framework 2.0. And these meetings of town halls provided ways for educators, for parents, community members to come together and share their insights, their thoughts, their suggestions about those future systems of assessment and accountability. So those discussions at those town halls focused on enhancing local flexibility. So there are things that are in the framework that you can opt into as a district, terms that we've never used in Kentucky before. Also, that fosters collaborations among districts. So building networks that districts would collaborate together and build each other up, sharing best practices and exemplars to build an education system that advances not just assessment and accountability, but across the education system as a whole. So the feedback that we gathered during those town halls have informed the development of Framework 3.0. So moving into the more information around the town halls, they were very successful. And I want to thank all of the district assessment coordinators and the building assessment coordinators that attended those town halls. Your perspective is unique and is important. So thank you for those that attended and were part of the conversation about moving forward with these new systems. As you can see here from the slides, we held 9 town halls and they were all in person. And over 600 people came to those town halls, even though we had some pretty tough weather events during those time frames. But we were so thankful and so pleased with the turnout at the town halls. And you can see the breakdown of our role groups and who attended. So the feedback that we got from the town halls have informed the development of our prototype 3.0. And that will be shared with as soon as next week with our School Curriculum Assessment and Accountability Council. Those members of the council include superintendents, teachers, parents, district assessment coordinators, principals, educators, and community members, business people, as well as post-secondary representatives. So we'll have feedback on 3.0 from the School Curriculum Assessment and Accountability early next week. Then we'll meet with the Kentucky United We Learn Council and get their feedback on the framework and take that information to the local superintendent advisory council at the end of the month, and then take all of that feedback to the Kentucky Board of Education on the 26th of March. So we've got a continuing iterative process where we are gathering feedback around future systems and what Kentucky wants as a system. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, we are watching what's happening at the federal level. And with all of the work that we're doing here with developing Kentucky's system of assessments and Kentucky's system for accountability, we feel like that we're really positioned well to move forward into an unknown future of assessment accountability. So these are discussions for the future. So we have current laws right now that we are implementing. So we are moving forward with our testing system, our accountability system for the 24-25 school year, as well as moving into the 25-26 school year. So as you can see, this progress that we've made through developing prototypes, engaging communities, engaging legislators, you can see where we're on the path toward beginning an advocacy phase here in engaging, continuing to engage with the General Assembly and representatives of our Commonwealth. So there have been several representatives and senators that have been part of the discussions around these systems, attended Kentucky United We Learn Council meetings, have been at summits and engaged in conversations around these systems. We had several members of the General Assembly attend the town halls. So we're engaging in this conversation about the systems that Kentucky wants for their future and what they want it to look like. So the goal is to have a legislation for consideration in the 2026 legislative session. So literally a year from this time frame, we hope to have consideration, bills for consideration so that we can implement some of these. So again, just wanted to bring you up to date where we are with that Kentucky United We Learn initiative, because it's an exciting endeavor and could impact us as a Commonwealth. So let me stop there and turn to Devin and see if there are any questions for not only the Kentucky United We Learn, but any of the other topics that our wonderful presenters have presented today.
There are no further questions for the group. We did get one that was more an individual question, and so that has been forwarded to the appropriate person.
Great. Thank you, Devin. Appreciate you taking the questions, as we appreciate all of our district assessment coordinators, and thanks to all of our presenters today. Our next DAC Webcast is in April. Our April webcast will be on April 10th. If you are on spring break at that time, please do not tune in. You can watch it recorded, and I wish you the best for the spring, and hopefully you can take some time away for spring break and recuperate and be ready for the end of the school year. So until we see you again, please stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.